we are not so different today from those who lived in ages past. Since the dawn of time, we mortals have burst upon this life hoping with all the passion of our souls to find something of meaning during our journey here. Although many experience joy and prosperity, too many are poor and sick. Too many hearts hide unspeakable sorrows. Too many souls suffer quietly.
Awesome.
2,000 years ago, upon the sand and stone of Galilee, walked a man without a home. He was a king, a prince, the Son of God. And yet Jesus the Christ walked among the least of men, feeding the hungry, healing the sick, and comforting the sorrowful. He could have commanded legions, yet he chose to serve, inspire, and restore hope and life to those outcast among men.
Son of David, have mercy on us, Lord.
In our day, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are building on a long-established tradition of compassion and charity by reaching out to bless those who yearn for a better life. From its beginning, caring for the poor has been a cardinal concern and fundamental priority of the Church. In the mid-1800s, Latter-day Saint pioneers on the westward trek planted crops to be harvested by those who followed. On the trail, they shared what little they had. No one starved so long as his neighbor had food. During the economic devastation of the Great Depression, the Church formalized its present-day welfare program. The first presidency of the Church said, "The aim of the Church is to help the people to help themselves." To better serve the poor and needy, congregations of Latter-day Saints planted crops and built canneries and warehouses. The Church began a comprehensive program to provide food, employment, training, and social services for those in need. Today, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints strives to follow the teachings of the Savior and relieve suffering, help people become self-reliant, and provide opportunities for service and growth. Like the Samaritan of old, members of the Church of Jesus Christ strive to bind up the wounds of the injured. They reach out to the hungry, the afflicted, and the disconsolate in a way that heals and strengthens them.
Help you get through this.
My role as bishop is to manage the resources of the church in helping people to take care of themselves and to help them to where they can become self-reliant.
A bishop is called out of a congregation of about 500 people. His responsibility is to be the shepherd.
One of the primary resources a bishop has in helping the needy is a fund called Fast Offerings. Once a month, members of the church go without eating 2 meals and donate the money they would have spent on food to the bishop as an offering to help the poor and needy.
100% of the money we take in from fast offerings is used to help the needy.
A bishop has at his disposal many additional resources. Farms, canneries, and storehouses provide food and clothing. Trained professionals provide counseling and adoption services. And work training facilities and employment centers provide job placement services.
I was living in my car because I didn't have a choice. I was without a home, I was without a job. We lived behind a couple of churches. The cops would come by and tell us to move and would go to another church and sleep behind another church. My babies would ask me where we were going to sleep. I told them another night in the car. I went to talk to a bishop. I went in there crying and told him I needed a job. He got me a job. From there, I came into this apartment My kids are going to school. We got a roof over our head. We're a lot happier.
As a bishop, we have the responsibility of looking out and caring for any who suffer, whether it be emotional, spiritual, or temporal.
I had a bishop who helped me a great deal. I was down, and he really lifted me up.
Her husband had left her. She had to become a single mother with 2 children.
He thought I was a very spiritually strong person and that I had the strength to move forward and overcome, even though I was alone.
The Relief Society, or women's organization of the church, met with Marlene, and they took care of some of the special needs she had, the food, the clothing, the things that you need immediately.
The Relief Society is a tremendous part of the welfare program. They provide a tremendous amount of service, whether it's taking meals into families where the mother is incapacitated or just sitting down and being a friend.
They gave her time away from the children in order to think through her goals for the future. The important issue for her was to be able to care for her family for the long term.
I wanted to go back to school, but I didn't have the means.
The priesthood leadership went to the community college and opened up the doors for her to enroll.
I returned to school, and now I am ready for nursing school.
She has confidence that she never would have had before.
The day I was laid off was hard. I had just moved out from Utah and bought a house and moved into the suburbs, and 6 months later I got the axe.
It was devastating, absolutely devastating.
The first thing when you're discouraged is you tend to isolate yourself. And I didn't want to tell my parents. I'm 40 years old. I didn't want to tell my parents that I moved out here and lost my job.
We felt like such failures.
Yeah.
And at first we thought we were all alone, and then we started talking to other people here.
My local church leader knew exactly what to do. He said, go down to LDS Employment Center and talk to the people there, and they'll get you straight.
What we want to do is to give them hope and help and strengthen them for the battle of unemployment.
They absolutely believed Bill would be fine. And that belief really helped us reestablish the belief in ourselves.
We don't tell people what to do, but instead, we ask them, what do you want or need? What are your goals? And as we do that, then they tell us what they want.
They feel like the world's on their shoulders, and you can help lift them up. And when they find that job, it just completely changes them.
And he called and said, I got the job. I was jumping up and down. And then I called our daughter, and she actually cried. She was so happy and relieved.
This job is ideal. It's like what I've been preparing for the last 20 years. Ever since I was in college, I was interested in helping teachers to learn to use technology. It's within the mission of the church to change lives, to lift people out of their circumstances.
We've been directed by our Savior to love one another, to lighten the burdens of one another, to lift the load, and to help out. When people go out and do this, they can't help but feel good about themselves.
I knew that my roof needed replacing, so I was very grateful when my bishop called and said he had organized my fellow church members to help me install the roof.
She was able to save enough money to buy the shingles, but she didn't have the expertise or the ability to get these shingles on the roof. We brought this to our welfare committee meeting, and we organized very quickly. They worked all day, and it took all day, but they got the job finished. We ask people to do what they can within the resources they've got, within the ability they've got.
Since we got married, our goal has always been to have our own business. We went through a time when money was really short. We have 4 children, and it was a real crisis. Then we developed the chimichurri sauce and began to work as a family. That was how we started the business, and through my husband, who was an excellent marketer. It was the church that helped us to get started, for which I am grateful. Now we aren't drowning in debt, and we are able to help others by paying them to work with us.
Over the years, I've been enormously impressed by the sense of compassion and decency and outreach that so many members of the Latter-day Saints are known for.
The people at Welfare Square are not judgmental. It really is unconditional love. And it's like the love of Jesus Christ flowing through the volunteers and the staff to those who have so many needs.
The church's welfare assistance is making a very important difference in the lives of people in need and helping people get started so that they can have an independent life in the future.
More than 150 years ago, Joseph Smith, the first president of the Church of Jesus Christ, laid the foundation that would grow into this great charitable work. He encouraged members to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, provide for the widow, and dry up the tear of the orphan. Today, the church continues to encourage members to follow the example of the Savior and have compassion for those in need, both near and far. Each year, members volunteer hundreds of thousands of hours on farms, canneries, storehouses, and training facilities that provide food for the hungry, relieve the pain of those who suffer, and offer a helping hand to those who yearn to become more self-reliant.
good to be able to serve people that I've never even met.
I am very happy here.
Me siento completamente feliz.
I really love this work.
And I love it, and people love me too.
We here are helping people less fortunate ourselves. And it, like now, sorry, it brings a lump to your throat to think you're a service to people.
Pure religion, the Bible tells us, is to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction. Jesus of Nazareth comforted and healed those who sorrowed and were sick, and he encouraged others to go and do likewise. The Church of Jesus Christ strives to follow in the footsteps of the Savior. The sick are cared for, the hungry fed, the naked clothed, and all is done in a way that brings joy to those who give and fosters self-reliance among those who receive. This is the welfare program of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.